Hello and welcome to Community Link. This is Community Missions' opportunity to talk to you all throughout Niagara County and tell you a little bit about what it is that we are doing at Community Missions and how we may be able to help you and those that you care about as well. My name is Christian Hoffman. I am the Vice President for Public Relations and Development at Community Missions, and I am joined today by Reverend Mark Breese, our agency pastor.
Hello.
Hello, thanks so much for joining us here.
I'm really glad to be here and back at LCTV and doing this again. It's awesome.
I'll tell you, it's been some time, certainly, since before COVID hit, honestly.
It's a long time. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, that we've been able to come out here and do this. So with that, I want to talk a little bit about what it has looked like around community missions for the past couple of years. So we are very pleased to say that throughout the past 2.5 years now, from when the COVID, the pandemic really started out, that we have been open. We have been open and operating. Hopefully, those of you out there, obviously we haven't been able to be out here on LCTV, but through our social media, through our website, and making other kind of TV appearances. Hopefully you will have seen that we are still operating, still going strong with things like our food services, our daily soup kitchen, our food pantry, our emergency housing shelter, all those programs still operating, and we're able to continue on through the pandemic. Our other programs that people may not consider so much are things like our mental health programs, both residential and kind of recovery based, or kind of alongside of those residential programs, and even some of our youth programs. Some had to shut down that were operating during the school year. Obviously school looked a little bit different for a lot of the kids, but beyond that we've been able to continue on and soldier on. I was going to ask you, Pastor Mark, obviously you've been there in the trenches kind of along the way. How did faith services change during COVID?
Oh, well, it's very interesting that a lot of the work we had done with engaging with the local faith community and getting them connected with the people that we serve in our programs and in the broader community, a lot of that came to a screeching halt, almost all of it. It was a lot of those in-person events, the Sunday Cabaret, our Sacred Site tours, other group events that we did, that we brought the community in for, different meals and programs. All of that stopped and has not started up yet again. We're slowly bringing things back. Even my group work in the mental health homes, in our residential programs, we were keeping those facilities pretty locked down to protect our clients. So everything went remote. So we continued with doing a weekly online chapel service. We stood up a website called Hope for Niagara to provide written content and sort of collate the things we were doing online and pull in other resources to offer to people and be able to point them to. And a lot of work on the phone, talking to people and engaging with our clients over the phone and things like that. So it was a very different time. And now we're glad that we're slowly starting to work back into having more of those in-person kind of events. But it was quite the challenge, because it was all about being there with people, right? You know, that's what ministry at Community Missions is about. And to have that go away was a very big change in how we had to approach everything.
It was so interesting just to kind of weigh that balance, right, between wanting to be there with people versus safety of staff and of course guests, clients, and such. I was going to ask you in a minute, and maybe I'll give you a minute to think about it, about what are your kind of takeaways and memories that you're going to have, during COVID. But I just remember, thinking through specifically one of the populations that we serve are those that are recently released from incarceration, right? And I remember just hearing the headlines about how bad the COVID was running rampant through the jails and such, and so how were organizations like ours going to be able to deal with that. And so one of the biggest changes that we made immediately is in our shelter we had 50 beds, and so that's approximately 25 rooms, roughly. And so we had to take about 5 of those and set them up as isolation and quarantine rooms pretty early on. So our capacity was reduced to be able to take as many people in. That worked though, because there were less people moving around, but certainly the need was still there. But then we had at the height of it, a 14-day quarantine period that people were having to stay in. And thankfully, knock on the closest wood that I have, we were pretty fortunate that we did not really have the big outbreaks.
I think among the things that I remember is just how well we actually did. It's important to remember that the populations that we serve these are very vulnerable people. These are people that, because of their economic circumstances or their mental health issues, or having been formerly incarcerated, and their physical health, they often come with a lot of underlying conditions. People with mental health concerns often are underserved in the medical community because their medical concerns aren't taken as seriously, right? So there's many people who come through our programs and services that have these high risk profiles for people with COVID, right? So that's the one, collectively as a memory for me, as I was always so concerned that COVID was going to enter the building, and here we have these people with a lot of comorbidities in their health, that were going to be really vulnerable. But our staff worked really hard, and our policies were in place fairly early, and we really got through without a lot of our people in our residential programs, whether it's the shelter or the mental health ones, coming down with COVID. And those very few who did, and really over the 2 years, it was count them on on two hands. Nobody ended up hospitalized. So it was really. That's the kind of my biggest takeaway, is how hard the staff worked to try and protect the people that they serve.
Right.
And I think the other thing was the way our staff stepped up, because one of the biggest impacts, you'll know too, is that our volunteers evaporated.
Yes.
All of a sudden, we went from having thousands of volunteer hours every month to zero.
Right.
And our staff really stepped up at the food pantry, where the numbers exploded. And in those programs were like some of our youth programs with the schools. Those staff stepped in, and we had staff from all around the agency coming and helping out with those crisis services needs that, it took our volunteers, always took volunteers to make those, 100 to 150 lunches 6 days a week, and getting food to hundreds of families at a certain point during the pandemic.
Yes.
And so the thing I remember most is just how much our staff, professional staff, really pulled together to fill the gap that the community always really provided for us, and it wasn't safe for them to do so, and safe for our clients to have so many people in, and it just was how it had to be. But the staff was just amazing. That's the biggest memory, is how well everybody pulled together to meet the needs.
Absolutely. I'll say the easy thing, for us would have been to protect and make sure everyone is safe and secure and such, and say, no, we're going to close down, right? We're going to shut down, not necessarily the shelter, but some of our other programs. Yeah. But just weighing the responsibility that places like community missions have, and with just that social aspect, physical health is one thing, and making sure that you're protected from that, but, loneliness and just being shut in. And during the height of COVID, I mean, you just think about so many people that just lost so much connection with, and we're still fighting to get that connection back.
Yeah, we are. And those people too, it's, the populations we serve with poverty and mental health issues and things like that, these are people that are often very isolated. And so this was just isolation on top of isolation for them. And so, it was really, it was nice that we were able to provide, at least that weekly connection, where people will come in a few times a week for the soup kitchen, or, the couple of times a month at the pantry. And that we were able to fill the gaps that happened in the community from all of that. It was really, really very proud of our staff and everything that they were able to accomplish.
Absolutely. So just for information's sake, again, the shelter is open, has been open, throughout. Our soup kitchen, where we were welcoming people downstairs into our kitchen, which is located in our basement of our main site, that has gone away, where we're not welcoming people in right now, at least. We're hoping to get that back open soon. But the lunch continues to serve Monday through Friday to the public, just to-go meals. So we just hand them out of a side window, basically, that we have. So you can walk up and still get your meals right there. The food pantry, that has continued on throughout the pandemic. Again, we ask that you come only once a month to whatever district, wherever it is that you live, to your own local pantry. But you can kind of visit any pantry that might be that you might be able to get to at any point. They should be able to give you some food. Community Missions certainly being one of them, and then we'll make sure, whether it's Community Missions or another pantry that is really your home pantry, we'll make sure that you know where to go from then on. So if you have any immediate needs like that, certainly contact us. You can visit communitymissions.org, or our main number is 716-285-3403. And those are some ways that we can certainly make sure that you can have some immediate help. I wanted to transition where we were talking about kind of those connection pieces and starting to hopefully kind of bring some people back together. And we've been able to do that in a few different ways over the past few weeks.
October was a big month.
It has been. It certainly has been. Let's start out, I believe, on the 1st of October. We started out with something new for Community Missions, but I don't think new for you, Blessing of the Animals.
Yes. So on October 1st, we celebrated St. Francis of Assisi's feast day, which is October 4th. We did it celebrated on the 1st with our first Blessing of the Animals. We had that at Community Missions. It was an outdoor event, and we had about 30 or so, 40 people who came out to the event. We had a couple of our local clergy out to help as well. Pastor Lisa from Bacon Memorial Presbyterian Church was out and participated in our little beginning service, and Deacon Howard Morgan, who's with the Roman Catholic Diocese, and did a little opening service and with some music, and had Joanne Lorenzo. It was nice. I haven't seen Joanne for a long time from, well, it's not the Magdalene Project anymore. It's Lighthouse Ministries.
Okay, that sounds
Yep. Came and played music, and then we went around and we offered blessings to the animals and their owners. And we even had a couple of horses. So mainly dogs, 2 horses, and a bunny.
Yes.
So it was really nice to be able to have the community come out to do that, because people's pets have been really important to them over these last few years. And so we thought it would be a great idea to do that. And one of our new staff people, Serena Deacon, brought it up as a possibility. And even earlier in the summer, I've been asked by folks at the pantry if we'd be able to do an animal blessing. So it was a great event. For our first one, it went really well.
It did, and part of the idea of it was certainly to, again, bring people together and such. Just do it outside, where it's much safer, with COVID and such. But also to bring awareness of a program that we probably don't talk about here is our pet pantry.
Yes.
So our food pantry that we have, obviously, people can stop by and get some groceries and such, as we were just talking about, if you need a little bit to help you make it through the month. But many of us have pets. I have a pet at home, and sometimes we just need a little bit of help to be able to make ends meet, to be able to make sure that our 4-legged friends are taken care of as well. So we do operate a pet pantry that kind of is an as-needed thing. So that's another thing that you can call about. 285-3403. If you need a little bit of help with some either pet food or pet supplies or even toys, sometimes we get donated. Those are wonderful things that we also need donations of as well. So that little event, we put together some stuff on our social media, kind of previewing the event, but then afterwards to try to see if we could get some more donations to make sure that when people come to us with a need, that we have some things to give out.
Yeah, and it's true. Like, a lot of people look for a way to volunteer or get involved or things to donate to, and we need all the normal stuff. But that it's to be able to help folks to have that special pet in their life, to help them when they need it and bring some joy into their life. It's a great way to donate, to help out. So it's pet food, toys, cat litter, stuff like that. So I encourage people, please come and if you're looking for a place to donate some folks some food, if you're a pet lover, Community Missions is a great place to do that.
Yep. So then, just a couple of days after that, we followed up with the 12th annual, I believe it is now, Interfaith Prayer Service.
Yes. So we held it. This is our the first full week in October is Mental Illness Awareness Week, and